All right. I guess it's afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Tibor Benke, Mr. Pete Zahn,
Here.
Ms. Cheryl Cook,
Here.
Mr. James Newman, Mr. Jake Nicely, Mr. John Campchin,
Here.
Mr. Kenneth Hunt,
Here.
Mr. Javier Benavente.
Here.
Great. Pledge of allegiance. Great. Has the board had the opportunity to review the minutes? And any questions or anything I'd like to point out?
I've scanned them. There's a lot of minutes.
Busy these days. There's a lot going on.
No revisions, so I move to approve.
Did you move for approval? Okay, I'll second it. Thank
Great.
you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we carry forward minutes. Great. Police report?
Captain Nikolai's here.
Long time no see.
Morning, afternoon. Yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry, I carry a lot of stuff with me. Okay, so this will be the police report for dated August 15th through September 4th. Every other week, I've been compiling a report to give to the chief, who gives it to the city manager. We still are waiting on the county for their programs to come online in terms of measuring statistics and spatial analysis. So we're not there yet. So we're trying to do this kind of in the interim, just to provide the updates that y'all would like. So during this time period, this district responded to 1,774 calls for service. We wrote 315 reports. We had 44 felony arrests, 93 misdemeanor arrests, 412 traffic stops with 323 tickets, 355 field interview cards where we get out with people and identify them, 42 courtesy cards, 29 towed vehicles. Just the patrol units themselves responded to 53 vehicle crashes. We had 3 DUI arrests, and we had 24 city ordinance violations, arrests. So a lot of these are open container arrests. And we had 19 arrests for trespassing / park rules violations throughout the parks in the district. We had 24 arrests for domestic violence related offenses. We had 4 aggravated assault incidents. All of those were cleared by arrest. We did have 5 burglaries, 3 were cleared by arrest, and 4 car breaks, 1 of which was cleared by arrest. For this particular CRA, we didn't have any major crimes of note during this time period, so that is good news for this area. Our units continue to monitor underneath all the bridges and all the parks for quality of life issues, and in this time frame that resulted in 32 arrests. We've been continuing to monitor the Jackie Robinson Bridge area for quality of life issues, especially during the time frames with the games or other events down there. And in this time frame, we made 11 arrests in that direct area. We have been working with Walgreens at Speedway and Ridgewood to get permission to have some no trespassing signs put up there at that southwest corner. It's the city sidewalk, can't do much about that, but they have that little kind of arched half wall, and in there we've actually found out that is private property. So we have signs, we're just working on getting those installed. So that would help a little bit at that intersection. Again, it's the panhandling, which we have a difficult time enforcing that, as you all are well aware. We have been working some proactive stuff down at the Heritage Inn, which is just a little bit to the south of you. We've had code enforcement out there to notify them of some violations, and I know that Lieutenant Harris has been in contact with Phoebe about working with the city grants to maybe help bring that property into compliance, so we do appreciate that. But we've also been working some police side of it to try to get them to get rid of some problem tenants, and we've been doing some proactive work down there. Our recent operation resulted in 3 felony arrests, 1 misdemeanor arrest, And we also do registry checks where they give us the names of the people who are staying there and we can run them for wants and warrants. So as you're aware, every month we have a traffic initiative somewhere in the district. And last month we had a two-pronged approach. The first one was for the school zones because school started up. So the officers have been in the school zones morning and afternoon just to promote pedestrian safety and try to protect the kids. And then at nighttime, it was a beachside complaint on North Halifax. So the result from that last month was 163 traffic stops with 141 citations. And just a side note, not all the citations are moving fines. Some of them are warnings. We find that education goes a long way as well. Let's see, the last thing for this area. That's pretty much it for this area. There are some events that we are working on planning for still. We've got coming up in October, the Trucktoberfest wouldn't really apply to y'all much over here, but we are monitoring a potential Trucktoberfest that might piggyback off something that's going to be happening at the new Smyrna Speedway. So we will have some overtime that weekend planned just in case. The 17th through the 20th is Biketoberfest, so we have already started the planning process for that. We will have a lot of overtime that weekend for both sides of the river, so we will have a lot of coverage there. And then the final event that we're looking at in the near future is Bethune-Cookman's Homecoming. We don't have final word yet if the pep rally will be at Jackie Robinson Stadium. We were supposed to find out, I think it was yesterday, and we still don't know. But in any case, if that pep rally is here in this district, then we'll have plenty of people who are out and about to assist with that. Other than that, I think that's all I have for you. If there are any questions or comments, I can take those.
I just do on those, because we haven't heard from you in a while. Are those numbers down that seem kind of high, lower or higher than in the past?
This area hasn't really been prone to a lot of the major crimes that we record. Really since I've been in this position here, this kind of middle area between, this is our what we call 57 zone. The north end of Ridgewood and the south end of Ridgewood tend to be the ones where we see some of the more serious crimes. But this has not been really anything of major. I know it's been more of the quality of life issues, which is why we had meant to discuss the security company and why we look for the major city park next to you here is City Island. So that's, but in terms of major stuff, no. It's more of the revolving cycle of quality of life issues that we. Those are difficult, as you know. We work enforcement in an area, it displaces it, and then we enforce it somewhere else, and it comes back. And so I still think that the security company has been of great benefit. So they've helped us with some cases. I think it was like 2 weeks after they started, they helped us catch a car brake suspect, and the businesses that we've gone to and talked to, they've been appreciative of that. I know they had to get pulled off the street for a few days while part of that contract got worked out with the panhandling stuff and the First Amendment stuff. So there is some more legislation coming from the state in October, I believe, regarding the camping and the abandoned property. And I know that our city legal is working on trying to monitor that to see, if that's something where the state will get sued, and if so, that would be on hold. But if not, how would we implement that into our city ordinances? So those discussions are being had, at the city legal level. So.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I've noticed somebody came up with a good idea. As I'm coming to work, I noticed, I don't know if they're homeless, but they've got a backpack and a grocery cart and all. They also have a fishing pole. So they're on the bridge with their fishing pole. So I don't know how you actually deal with something besides
Fishing license.
wave and salute.
Yeah,
and go by.
he's right. If you want to fish, you should have a fishing license. So yeah,
Oh.
that's not an arrestable offense,
License.
but you should have a fishing permit license of some sort. If they have a shopping cart that we can determine belongs to a certain business, as weird as it sounds,
Yeah.
that's actually a violation as well.
Usually that's not, it's at the end of the bridge and
Right.
they're
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah,
They come
the,
through around
the-
7:15, 7:30 every morning, and
right.
they're early birds.
We have to be careful not to have selective enforcement. If we're only selecting certain people who are fishing, that's how we get jammed up. So
Agreed.
it'd have to be an all or none kind of thing.
Understood.
But it is a good idea. All right, well, thank you very much. I
All right,
appreciate it.
thank you.
One comment.
Oh, another comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was really,
You were in my peripheral, I didn't see it.
it was a thank you because I tend to walk around the district quite a lot, and on 2 occasions, officers have stopped me for community input, just asking me, what do I see? And despite all the things that you all are doing and all the activities, all the things you've just gone through, you're
Microphone.
That's great.
and so thank you for that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's neat.
We definitely rely on that feedback because we can't be everywhere, so I do appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Captain. All right, we have our presentations. Delta West.
Do we need to read anything into the record on this as a case coming up? Plan 09, 03, 2024, or anything like that? I'm so used to doing that, going before a board, but.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So if you will, if you will put up the Delta West presentation. So before you, you have a few documents in front of you. You have a couple documents. You have a staff report for Accent Daytona Beach, Delta West, and also you have a First Amendment of the Project Delta West Plan District Agreement before you. If you have a moment to review that, I'm just going to provide some highlights, and we have a couple speakers. We have the Planning Director, Mr. Dennis Morzak, and then also we have Jessica Gao from Cobb. So if you go to the next, thank you, no problem. All right, so Accent Daytona Beach, Delta West.
Excuse me,
Development.
Phoebe.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson has a question or at least a recommendation to the chair.
Yeah, this is one where we'll be looking at the amended PDA, which requires a public hearing. So we'll need to amend the agenda and move that if we're going to go ahead and proceed with that.
Okay.
So I didn't know if you were going to announce that. I just wanted to, so that would need to be a motion by the chair to. I'm sorry, that would need to be a motion by the chair to move that to the for public meeting.
Not understanding.
Okay, so
Meeting there.
you would need to amend the agenda for the public hearing regarding the Delta West amendment.
Yeah, and
That's correct.
If I can add, this is Dennis
Thank you.
Merlick, Planning Director. What you're actually looking to do is amend your agenda because the item is actually a request to rezone. So it's an amendment to an existing PD. So you're going to be amending the existing Delta West PD. This is going to be the first amendment. So it's technically a rezoning from the PDRD to a PDRD with an amendment to what's already been approved. So the agenda needs to be changed to a request to rezone the property to PDG to amend the Delta West Plan Development Agreement.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to consider changing the zoning for the Delta West Accent Daytona PDG rezone.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So
opposed?
since we're,
Oh,
go ahead.
comment. Opposed?
Under discussion, where does it move to? So we're going to have a request to move it to another category. So right now it's under presentations, item 6. Then we've got staff reports 7, public comments 8. What do we call this?
Great. So, yeah, this would be the quasi-judicial hearing.
Under 6A?
So, yeah, this was.
I could-
Hearing?
Yeah, I could,
Well, this is a public hearing. So
I could amend my motion to add an agenda item for a public hearing specifically
Well,
for the PDG
I think
West.
it needs to be specific. That's why I'm saying that.
Is that specific enough?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and repeat
that
that.
okay?
Yeah, I'll revise my motion. A motion to change the agenda for the Downtown Redevelopment Committee to add an item for a public hearing to consider the West Accent Daytona PDG rezone.
Okay, is that okay for the second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we carry forward with changing the action item on the agenda. We're going to make that,
First, or do we make it later?
well, can it be included in the 6A as we doing the presentation?
No, it's going to, the presentation will move down underneath that heading for rezoning. So if we don't have the same situation with 400 South Beach or with the fire headquarters, then we're hearing a presentation and we can move ahead with those. And if that's not correct, I stand corrected, but I believe that's.
No, yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay.
Well,
So we'll move to 6B then.
Okay, we'll move to 6B, which is 400 South Beach Street. Ms. Framework, if you can put that presentation up. This is for informational purposes. I know there has been various talks about what's going on with Framework, so I just wanted to revisit this. We have Jessica Gao here from Cobb Coal. As you can see, this is the rendering for 400 South Beach Street apartments. This is an area view of the site plan for this location. It's along the Beach Street corridor, and it also abuts Michigan and Michigan Avenue. This project, just to give some project history, December of 2021, the City of Daytona Beach Community Redevelopment Agency and the City Commission approved the Framework Downtown Redevelopment Incentive Agreement. March of 2022, the City Commission approved the Framework Downtown Plan District, which is the PD agreement, for PDRD rezoning. The property has been cleared of all buildings and prepared for redevelopment. This project detailed, this is totaling 350 dwelling units, and also the details here for the parking consistent with the LDC. So the building design complies with the major city thoroughfare design standards and the PD. As you can see here, this is a site plan detailing out how the development will look. Do we have any questions? I wanted to revisit this because this has been, this hasn't gone before you in a while. And I know there's been various questions about what's going on with Framework. And we do have Jessica Gao here to further explain. Just some project updates. On January 4th of 2022, the Downtown Redevelopment Board recommended approval for this project. And also the president of Framework Group also noted that redevelopment board meeting, any type of changes or any type of modifications that they wanted to happen that the board suggested were noted. So do we have any questions concerning this particular project? I know there were some questions that came to me, and I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity publicly because various people in the community have been asking as well, and I wanted to just to do the due diligence to provide them with additional insight.
Possibly after we hear some additional information
Okay.
from Jessica, that'll probably help. So we can, any initial questions or, so can we have Jessica
Sure.
come up and?
Good afternoon. I think we're afternoon. Jessica Gallo, Cobb Coal Law Firm, 1 Daytona Boulevard. You guys have seen this project a few times. What I love about it is that the renderings haven't changed from the rezoning to the site plan to permitting. So normally when we come in for conceptual design, we get into actual engineering and say, oh, some things need to be tweaked. Not here, which is really great. So that vision in front of you is what's being built right now. And so I know there were questions on why hasn't the work started? You know, we had the groundbreaking with the demolition of the former structures on the site. And then this project has an incentive agreement with the city that was approved for the tax rebate program in the CRA. And as a part of the review of the financing on this project, it was noted that if Framework for some reason could not finish construction and the lender had to come in and finish constructing the apartment, not going to happen, but the lender brought it up, that the incentive agreement was not transferable to the lender during construction. So we had to go through and work with city legal, amend that incentive agreement, bring it back before the city commission, have that in place before they could get funding released to build the project. So that occurred a month or so ago. The city commission approved that change. Financing is in place, permits are issued. They're out there right now pouring foundations. And so we are pretty excited. The construction timeline, I believe, is 12 to 18 months with some staggered COs in there. And so we'll see that coming forward very soon.
Okay.
So basically, this is just a presentation to bring us up to speed on where we are.
Just an update on
Because
where
we've
it
been
is.
asking what's going on for a couple of years.
And we can finally say the trucks are out there. They're
I noticed. I noticed everything, the groundwork. I didn't realize foundations were going in. That's a big step. Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Well, we just received some of the information recently, so there's nothing we really need to vote on at this point, is there?
This one's just a presentation, let us know where it is.
Okay, excellent.
This
All right.
other is Accent Daytona, something different.
All right. I'm excited about the growth, and people have been inquiring about it, so it's exciting.
Financing, you have a big step, so that's,
Yep, absolutely.
and permits.
And as far as delays and construction and everything else, we understand that. That's the nature of the beast, I guess. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, great. Then we're back to Delta West.
No, well, the fire station's a presentation. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to hold it till later?
I tell you what, let's go ahead and go through all the presentations, and then we'll revisit that.
Okay, so we're on the fire station now.
Phoebe's already here. Continue, Phoebe.
Okay. All right, so the next presentation is the fire station. This is just for informational purposes as well. This is the rendering of the proposed fire station. Not working. There we go. As you can see here, the fire station will be on Ridgewood, and as well as the back part of the building will be on Seagrave. Here are the renderings for the fire station, and also you'll continue to hear more development about the fire station as well. There was several questions that came up. That's why I wanted to represent it to you all in the event that you had additional questions for this project.
So you've got a presentation today. Looks great. I've been wondering where it was. What are the next steps for the site? Going through final site plan process?
Correct. So we're going through final site plan for this particular development, and there are minor modifications that has to happen, but that's where we're working through various departments. And then as far as moving forward, we'll continue to move forward so we can break ground. We have, I think Dennis is still.
Okay.
Yes.
Do all the presentations and approvals come through this board?
You can go ahead.
Dennis is-
Sure.
I'll jump in again. Dennis Rozak, Planning Director. The site plan actually for the fire department went to the city commission as part of a public use permit to approve the use on the site. And as part of that process, they waived the requirement, because we're in two different redevelopment areas with this site plan. They waived the requirement for the site plan to go before the redevelopment boards for approval. They approved the site plan with staff's review of the site plan. So it's not going to be coming back here for approval. We did stamp the site plans. We approved them a couple of weeks ago. So now they're going to go into the building permit process, and then they'll be able to start going. They did get a grant to assist with some of the improvements. I think a $10 million grant for the fire station, so that's helpful. So hopefully we get this thing rolling along. We didn't want to stop it. We wanted to just keep it right on going. So
what's the expected time frame to?
I wish I had that for you. The fire department will tell you as soon as possible, but you're probably looking at a couple of years.
Oh,
So,
years.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Before it gets started or?
No, before it's completed. Yeah, I mean, it's already started. We've got the site plan approved, and they're in that process, so.
Okay.
Matter of fact, you want to jump up? We've got the engineer right over here. We'll be able to assist. Thanks.
Hey, Chris Rowley with Zeb Cohen and Associates. So we actually had the pre-construction meeting for this yesterday. It's going to start, I believe it's going to go to before commission in early October to get the final building permit and the funding approved, and they'll start construction. They said it would be between 16 and 18 months of construction. So it should start sometime in October, and possibly 2026, early 2026 could be open.
Cool. Okay, so I see a median cut there. I'm wondering how you're going to go northbound coming out of there, but I guess you're going to have some traffic lights that'll.
Yeah, there will be a signal for the fire trucks there on the big, large median opening, so only for fire truck access, not the flashing.
Now, the next big fun question is going to be what happens with the existing Station 1, but you're
Yeah,
probably not involved
yeah.
with that.
I'm not privy to that, but I'll be excited to hear that as well.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
On that question, Suzanne, what role could this board have in that?
I'm sure they're going to go through a community, what do you want kind of a thing, because it's public property, and then see if there's going to be a public-private. There's so many things that go on because it's still owned by the city.
You have some comments on
Oh,
that?
boy, here
Well,
it goes.
I might as well.
Inside info.
I was just giving some information. I think they're going to go to RFP to be able to reuse the property, and hopefully something that the community will appreciate. It'd be we've had a lot of interest in restaurants and things like that going at that location, right on the corner, right on the water. It'd be a great draw, and when we do the RFP, we'll see what comes back.
Great. Thank you. Anything else on the fire station? Okay. All right, we're back to Delta West again.
Well, and I'm going to suggest that this would be item 7 then, which is going to be public hearing.
Why don't we make it 6.5?
Okay, got it, 6.5, and that doesn't screw everything else up.
Yeah.
And then so this is called public hearing, so we're now moving into a public hearing.
Right, which will be a quasi issue.
Okay. I'm sure Jessica wants
Sorry.
to make sure.
Which would be quasi-judicial proceeding.
All right, fire away.
Oh, good, John. Okay.
Good?
Yes.
Okay. This is for the quasi-judicial hearing for Accent Daytona Beach Delta West DEV 2022-174. So the summary of the request is for the rezoning of 10.2 acres of land from PDRD to the planned development of redevelopment PDRD to support a mixed-use development, including residential, retail, and workforce housing. The applicant has proposed the following: vacating the right-of-way of York Court and Dowling Court, proposing 300 units, allocated number of units for workforce housing units at 120% AMI, allocated units for housing units for first responders, enhanced landscaping on Ridgewood Corridor, parking additions along Bay Street and Palmetto Avenue. A public hearing with the City Commission will be scheduled concurrent with the vacating of the right-of-ways. So our staff recommendation, staff finds that the proposed rezone aligns with Section 3.4D.3 and 4.8.B of the Land Development Code. Staff recommends that the redevelopment board for the rezoning of 10.2 acres from the PDRD to PDRD planned development to the City Commission for the recommendation of approval for the redevelopment board. This location intersections of Ridgewood Avenue and International Speedway Boulevard. The parcels are listed on your document. There are various parcels. The property size is 2.2 acres. The existing zoning is from PDRD, which is listed on your document as well. The existing future use is mixed use. Adjacent land use and zoning. The table below summarizes the nearby uses. So if you look on your table, the documents before you, the north residential mixed use is RD PD2, and then the south commercial, which is mixed use, RDD3. The east commercial residential is mixed use to PDRD, and the west is a public park, mixed use, M1 and RDD3. So the Delta West Accent Daytona Beach project will involve a mixed-use development including, as stated before, residential and workforce housing units, commercial and retail space in phase 2 of the project. They will also have responder units as a part of workforce housing, enhanced landscaping and public amenities along Ridgewood Avenue, improving the streetscape. The general development plan for this site is provided in Attachment A. The site-specific zoning district map also is within your documents, and we'll review those shortly. According to Section 3.4D.3 of the Land Development Code, LDC, the city shall consider the following criteria when determining whether to adopt or deny the proposed amendment. This is compliance with the Land Development Code. The proposal includes several waivers, notably for building height, parking ratios, and road diets. These requests will be determined in the attached waiver and benefits letter in Attachment B. This is before you as well. The modifications are justified and will support the project without negatively impacting the community. The Delta West project provides 300 units. The allocated workforce housing and also the first responder housing are to be determined, those amounts. The city is currently still in negotiation with this particular developer. The developer addresses the city goals of providing affordable housing and moderate income housing, and also housing for first responders, fostering the inclusive residential environment. As far as compatibility with surrounding uses, the proposed development is consistent with the surrounding residential and commercial uses. The workforce housing units and retail spaces will enhance the area's vibrancy, supporting foot traffic and commerce. Logical development pattern, the design of the development along the requested modification will result in logical and cohesive development that supports long-term growth for the downtown CRA. Impact and property values. The development is expected to positively impact property values for revitalizing the area and providing new housing opportunities. Public facilities. The development will be served by existing public utilities, and necessary permits and approvals will be obtained prior to the site plan review. Environmental impact. No significant environmental impacts are anticipated. Environmental assessments will be conducted as required. So the staff recommendation for Accent Daytona Beach Delta West is that we find that the requested rezoning aligns with the criteria in sections 3.4D.3 and 4.8.B of the Land Development Code. Staff recommends that the Downtown Redevelopment Board forward the rezoning of 10.2 acres from the PDR to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval. Have any questions?
So low income is supposed to be like in building 1 or building 2, and then the firefighters and other folks are going to be in the other, or how is you got low income, and then is it the whole project low income, or is it?
No, so this will be workforce, which is the 120 up to 120 AMI, the percentage of 120 AMI. So this wouldn't be considered the typical low income, or this would be considered the moderate income. And that is we're still in negotiation of how many units that they will provide. They have proposed a few units in their original offer to the city. As of now, they are proposing 20 units. We're in negotiation as far as the exact amount. So a portion of those 300 units will be workforce, and then there will be a couple of those units will be for first responders. The idea behind the entire project is there will be some form of discounted amount for a period of time. And Jessica can elaborate a little bit further, but there will be a certain amount of time, and we're still in negotiation with that, as far as how long first responders or public safety will have for these particular units. The idea behind this entire project is not only to provide housing, because of course our downtown redevelopment, aside from the downtown redevelopment CRA, the city of Daytona Beach needs housing. So this is I feel like this would be a great project for us. But then they're also offering a portion of those units to meet a certain demographic of people, so our workforce as well as our first responders. And it will be, I'm assuming it will be mixed throughout, and so it won't be designated, this building is for that particular demographic of people. It will be spread throughout.
So you've got proposed mixed-use development. But I guess it's mixed use because there's some existing commercial within it, but the proposed improvements appear to all be residential, multifamily.
That's correct.
Okay.
And as far as the proposed commercial portion, that is phase 2. And Jessica can elaborate a little bit more on how that relationship looks, because it's not solely on the responsibility of the developers for Delta West and for Delta
Well, I
West.
see out parcels in there. You've got Mike's office and Popeye's.
That's correct.
Oh, there's a commercial pad, I see. Okay, well, we'll hear from Jessica.
Okay. Did you want to pull up the visuals for you all to see it?
Yes,
to
please.
capture? Okay, if you could pull that up for me, please. And this is a rendering of Delta West, the building. So this is on International Speedway in Palmetto. And this is the back part of the development.
It's looking east.
Looking west. So the front, I wish I had a mouse. So if you see the parking lot there, the parking lot is facing Ridgewood.
The buildings are on Palmetto, right?
There we go.
This is the east side of the project.
Right.
Yes.
We're looking from west to east.
So if you were standing on Ridgewood, you would be facing the parking lot and the rear of the
We're
building.
looking east.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And to the right is International Speedway.
To the right is International Speedway, to the left is Bay Street.
And there behind it is Cook's Jewelers somewhere.
I have a question about the Dowling Court vacating the right-of-way for Dowling Court. There is currently on the northeast corner of Dowling Court and Ridgewood, a office building, and if I'm not mistaken, they have an entry onto Dowling Court. What is the impact going to be on that property owner?
So I have Dennis.
It's obvious.
So they'll
They get a
talk about
parking
it.
lot.
They're
They get it.
going to
There's an
elaborate
entry
on
right
that
there.
portion.
Site plan shows an entry and a driveway along the north side of that building with parking.
So they're in discussion.
That building owner has been considered in this whole process, isn't it?
That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? We can hear from Jessica.
For the record, Jessica Gallo, Cole Law Firm, 1 Daytona Boulevard. If we can put this back on the screen, I know there's one more exhibit that Phoebe included that might be helpful too to look at. Perfect, thank you. And it's probably the next one. Perfect. So we'll probably flip back and forth between these two a bit. So for a quick introduction, this is 6.89 acres of property. It's currently zoned PDRD. It's going to an amendment to the PDRD. If you guys recall, I'm going to say way back when, it was 2 or 3 years ago, the original site was developed under Consolidated Tomoka. And then they, at some point, had it under contract with Framework Group, who was going to do a full multifamily project here. They fell out of contract, Consolidated held it open. West Plan saw it and fell in love, I will say. I've never seen someone as passionate about them as downtown Daytona, which is exciting. And they bought the property. So normally when we get a project under contract, like we've seen on this site before, You wait until you have all of your approvals in place and you're ready to build before you close. They said, we're committed, we're going to close today, and we're going to figure it out. We want this vision to come true. So they went ahead and closed on the property. They own 6.5 of the acres. Consolidated went back and, yes. Yeah.
Summary of request, rezoning of 10.2 acres.
It is 6.86. I think that's just a
So
typo.
that's just a correction. then. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
No problem. There's about 0.3 acres of it that includes the office building. So Jack White's office building, the 125 US 1. So he has not only been consulted, he is a party to this rezoning amendment. The land use on the site, again, 3 years ago, was amended to include his parcel and the overall site-specific policy for this block, the Delta block, but he was never added to the PD. So as we came through and amended this, we've added him in there, and you can see on the plan, there's the ability to have an out parcel on his property for some expansion he's looking at.
Is that the amendment primarily?
The amendment deals with really three things that I'll go through in detail, because if you remember the original PD agreement, it allowed a large amount of density. We're at about a third of the allowable density on this site, large commercial development, and expansive signage. So this amendment has three goals. And I just want to clarify, there is no waiver to the building height. That was permitted already in the original. So we're under the signage of the original PD. The first vision of this site was a mixed-use project. So the signage allowed under the approved PD is 261,000 square feet of signage. Preposterous. It is a lot of signage. With this amendment, we are revising that to 1,120 square feet for the multifamily. So 200 times less, and then deferring the other potential commercial development in the future to just the land development code, the standard signage that anyone could have on the site. And I will show you, when I say future commercial, on the PD plan that you have in your packet, you see beside Jack White's office building, there's a pad for a potential expansion. That's 10,000 to 15,000 of office or retail. In addition, we put together this plan that shows you've got the commercial on Ridgewood, so Popeyes, they know what they have. They will not redevelop. They love it there. It's a great location for them. You've got Popeyes, you've got our site, which wraps around to include Jack's, and then it goes up to Bay. The multifamily uses are all along Palmetto and ISB, and then wraps around to Bay on the top. And the activation of Ridgewood is something that we worked with staff for a long time. You can see that this started in 2022, so we've been talking about and planning this site for a while. The city wanted to ensure that in the future, there's the potential for commercial activation along Bay and Ridgewood. And so the original concept we had for these apartments had the apartments fronting on Ridgewood to create that kind of urban edge design. When working with the city, we've talked about how maybe that activation is best for commercial uses, and residential would be best to front and create that urban edge on Palmetto. And so we've shifted our design to have the buildings fully on Palmetto, and then on Ridgewood and Bay, you can see kind of a dark gray circle over the original parking and those orange pockets. Those are areas where our architectural team have pointed out that you can create retail structures in those areas in the future, with structured parking behind it, which is that darker gray, to support those retail users. And so that's built into the concept plan for the next phase and potential redevelopment for downtown once we have the residents. Yes, Pete?
So I'm looking at Zev's site plan,
Yep.
which is in the package, and I'm looking at that. Is this an updated plan?
No, it's the same, it's just scrunched. The orange and the gray are not on the site plan because that would be a future potential
I'm
development.
looking at Bay Street and Ridgewood, and all I see is parking on that corner on Zev's site plan.
Correct.
And on that one, I'm seeing,
The orange
Retail
pockets are
buildings and
potential
orange.
retail. Right,
Pardon
so
me?
any orange or dark gray are not on the current PD plan. It's a conceptual layout of where those uses could go if we had interest in the future.
okay, and you'd come in with an amendment to the PUD to follow this plan,
If required. So the PD is already very broad.
specific, okay.
I'm saying the PD plan has some language in there that says it can be adjusted. We've gone ahead and updated all of the exhibits to give you guys the full picture of what we're proposing. But it could be that the commercial out parcels came in, as long as they meet the requirements of the original PD, we might not have to go through a public
I
hearing
see it,
process.
it's in the packet.
Yep. So then back to this design. The second thing this amendment does is demonstrates parking for this use. And so there is a unique parking layout here, and that the applicant is working with the city on a potential incentive agreement, as Phoebe mentioned, that deals with a 10% workforce housing set aside at a minimum. We're going through those numbers. Reduced rental rates for police officers and looking at different first responder options there. Those negotiations are ongoing. As part of the rezoning effort and the site planning, we will be completing improvements to Palmetto, including the provision of additional on-street parking. So you can see the view on Palmetto there from the north. Has some on-street parallel parking spaces proposed in the rendering. And we've worked to activate on ISB the frontage of the building so that people can come out of their residential units there on the ground floor and directly interact with the ISB frontage. And so early on in the process, there was some discussion on should this project be gated? Should we have that security aspect? And the developer has said, we don't believe in gating communities. We want to be a part of the overall community of downtown, of that vitality. So there's no fencing around the site. It will directly interact with downtown and provide that flow.
Very cool.
The parking for this site, through the city's land development code, there is a provision that allows for an alternative parking study for any use. The original PD just deferred to the land development code, so that would apply. Over 2/3 of the proposed units in this layout are one bedroom. And so the project is being proposed to park at a ratio that you see in the market of really one parking space per bedroom. That averages out for the overall project of a ratio of about 1.14. Within a block of this off-site and public parking or in shared parking with the office building, there are an additional 115 parking spaces that we can't count in the ratio that the city uses for looking at site plans. So we have to define what we will have on site, but we know there's that natural interaction with the public parking in those spaces. And there'll be a cross parking easement with the office building. The land development code also does not really deal with compact spaces in a called out way. And so we have added into the PD agreement that 30% of the spaces in the site can be compact, which is 9 by 18, I think is the dimensions, which is a standard DOT dimension. 18.5? 8.5 by 17. Dennis tells me. So, 8.5 by 17, yes, and that is in the amendment that you have in your file and in front of you. And then the amendment is pretty short, so the only other things is we call out clustering of landscaping, which is allowed by code, and then we change that signage section and replaced all the exhibits. You can see the updated renderings, the updated layout, and all of that. And that is really the big overview. Use is allowed by the existing zoning. The layout we're just changing, reducing that signage way down, clarifying some parking, and bringing forward this new concept and elevations. So with that, we're here to answer any questions. We've got engineering, we've got the developer owners here in the room.
So 2/3 are one bedrooms and the other ones are 2 or 3 or?
A mix of 2s and 3s. I think we have very limited 3 bedrooms. No, we have no 3 bedrooms, I'm being told by.
You've got 300 units, and how many parking spaces are you having, though?
The current site plan is just over 300 spaces on site.
1.14 per unit.
With jacks.
1.19.
Right. 362 is the current site plan layout. Yeah.
So 1.9 doesn't really even, where are the others going to park if this is filled up and 2 people live in a unit?
That number is really backed in. What you do is you look at all these units, and you look at the number one, the 1 bedrooms, the 2 bedrooms, look at land development code and what those requirements are, and if they were 1 or 2 spaces per, and then you look at the actual requirement for, in fact, Chris will come up here and tell you all about it, but then you come up with a number like this that's going to reflect what the parking spaces are in relation to the units that are going to be there and the expected need for that parking.
And as part of the parking review with the city, is we don't get to just say, we would like 1.1. And the city says, got it, go ahead and ask for what you want. We included and provided to city staff who has done the review and is recommending approval, examples of other projects by the same development company that has a similar parking ratio that is built, constructed, and operating without resident complaints and concerns. I think the other key part is that this will include bicycle facilities, intermodal connections. We've got the Burgoyne project hopefully moving forward. Ideally, these individuals who are living downtown enjoying the riverfront views are working on Beach Street or at Brown and Brown, and we get some individuals who don't need a car, right? I think if you've heard Ann Ruby talk to this board or planning board or city commission, she likes to point out the planning structure, which is if we keep building for people with cars, people will always have cars. And so to have an activated downtown, having a reduced parking ratio so you're promoting other modes of transportation instead of the standard car mode is really supported.
My daughter lived in New York City for 3 years, no car. Good plan.
I do have a
glad they've
question.
come up with something.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I did have a question on, it's nice to see the allocation in the future for the potential for retail. That's very nice, and that there's at least thought for that. Does the city have any tools or mechanisms they can use to incentivize the actual implementation of those down the road?
Yes, but I'll defer to Phoebe if you want. Well,
Build it and they will come.
it's on incentivizing retail and commercial development. So I will say that I think Phoebe has done a fantastic job, even from just what I've heard, about bringing really cool businesses downtown or talking to them.
Let me rephrase that. It's not so much that we have the tools. Are we willing to use the tools in these cases?
Sure.
If you could rephrase your question, because I was doing a couple other things. I heard a little
I was
bit
saying
of it.
the retail provisions in the plan, they're non-binding. They're saying, hey, this could happen in the future, which I was kind of excited to see the project move forward. Would have liked to see some retail, and I understand the economics of it. Does the city, I know the city has some tools to encourage the development of that. Would it be willing to use these or go to the city council to get approval for use of some type of incentive to assure that might happen?
Okay, yes, absolutely. We've been in discussion about making sure we provide some form of incentive to encourage commerce. That's what's going to increase our TIF. We need to activate not only foot traffic, but also income. Our CRA is sunsetting 2036. So the goal that we're doing as staff is to make sure that we do as much as we can before it sunsets. So after the CRA sunsets, we still have activated businesses here. We have increased foot traffic. There has been talks among the individuals who stay here, as far as the residents and also business owners. They want a grocery store. We can't provide something like that if we don't have enough foot traffic. So being very strategic on how we can provide different type of activation, and the only way we can do that is make it very attractive, providing an attractive incentive package to entice developers like Delta West and other developers to come and provide a unique, attractive business in the downtown area. We also have Jeff Brown here, the Director of Economic and Strategic Strategies. He will elaborate a little bit more on how that can impact our downtown area. Okay.
Great. We'd like to hear from Jeff.
Before we move to Jeff, I just wanted to just clarify one thing. I know that Jessica, your area. I'm sorry. I know Jessica, did I get it right? Yep, I got it right. I know, Jessica, that your area, in terms of the project size or the property measure was different than what we have in the staff report, and just wanted to see if we can reconcile that and make sure if we want to amend the staff report to match what you're saying, or
Yeah,
I don't know which is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's my question.
So the answer is, it is I'm sorry, you said 6.5?
8.6.
8.6. No, then, okay then.
How about the difference between these two? You've got ZEV site plans in there, and then you've got in the presentation packet, which shows the potential for retail space, which I'm definitely in favor of. I'm not sure how we're supposed to take it on the evidence before us.
So the PD plan is flexible. It says that in the text of the original PD. It can change around kind of however it wants. And so the potential retail pockets was an architectural exercise that we had our architect do to show where those could be located in the future, with structured parking kind of pockets as well. The PD plan matches the current site plan that is under review by the city, which is typically the city staff preference when we're updating plans and we have a site plan running through, to show exactly what's being reviewed right now. And so those potential retail pockets will be a part of the presentation materials as it goes through. But another user would have to come in and develop that through a site plan.
Okay. Just want to be sure what we're approving,
Sure.
you know, because I like the option for future development of retail in that area versus entirely multifamily in this bracket, aside from the two existing businesses. So it gives some flexibility. And Javier was asking, well, how do we know that's going to happen? It's just like all the development on Beach Street. As money comes in and development and vertical goes, people see this as a place to invest and there will be additional interest in it.
Absolutely.
And if I can just,
Timeline, they would love to be under construction already. So we have had,
So approved.
yes, I say, so we've had some review. Like I said, the plan has shifted a bit over time. I think that we're on a timeline now where the site plan hopefully is done this year as well. That's undergoing concurrent review. Normally we do the zoning amendment and then site plan, but they said, let's go ahead and get started. And so hopefully by first quarter next year, we have permits in hand and we're building.
and Attorney Guy, I just wasn't real clear, so just so I can make sure that we all are clear, you're saying it's an 8.6 acre?
6.86.
Oh,
Yep.
6.86.
Yes.
As
Plus or
opposed to
minus.
10.2.
Yes.
And staff, you agree with that and amend the report as such?
Yeah, that's the correct acreage on this, so it's a rezoning, that's the acreage, and it's a PDRD to a PDRD.
Okay, great.
First
Thank you
Amendment.
very much.
Thank you.
Are you guys ready for Jeff?
Yes.
Jeff Brown, Economic and Strategic Opportunities Director. Alluding to what Phoebe was talking about is, and I've been chasing a grocery store for over 2 years now that I've been here for the downtown area. And what I find repeatedly from those vendors is they want to see some population downtown. And even as much as I argue that we have Brown and Brown, we have City Hall, we have the court systems all down here. We have how many people coming downtown on a nightly basis. They still want to see an in-place population to help with that. So we've been actively trying that for the last 2 years. This and the 400 project will definitely help us towards getting a small grocery store in the downtown area.
My wife would be happy.
And I will say to that, you know, we have, like we just did the presentation on 400 Beach coming to the north of Brown and Brown. This is really kind of at the heart of Ridgewood and ISB. And then I just think, and this is personal, this isn't part of the presentation, another large amount or just a standard multifamily project on the other side of B Street to kind of bookend this and have people flowing to that downtown would be amazing. We've got the Daytona Beach Housing Authority project down closer to the marina, but maybe something between there and the courthouse to really activate that side of Beach Street as well.
And the Gateway, that's going to be a real nice view for Gateway Daytona coming in.
Absolutely.
An observation, and this is something that not directly related to this project, which I think is a fabulous thing. And being in your background planning and whatnot, it's an observation that with the density going in on the north side of ISB, it's very difficult to get across ISB. And it's well known that neighborhoods have been bifurcated by highways and railroads and all these different things. And it's very difficult when you just described, okay, they'll be able to go east-west, but they're not going to be able to go north-south very easily. Does the city have, you know, I know over by the river underneath the ISB, we've got that path, but that's really going to be for joggers, you know? Is there any thought concepts right now, and I'm just thinking maybe to put it in the radar, of a flyover?
I think that's a great idea.
I see a pedestrian bridge across that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like the Hilton has in the shore.
it is a barrier. And I just think, you know, recognize it as such. You're putting, what, 600 units on the north side? There are some spaces on the south side, but they're pretty far. I don't see anything action down there.
Right.
But there's businesses on the south side, you know, and So I'm just thinking maybe, it might be something you all might want to look at.
Absolutely. And in terms of pedestrian access in this kind of corridor, when we look at Palmetto and Bay in this site plan, as part of that, we will look at any kind of pedestrian enhancements needed to assist there. I think there's a pretty good crosswalk at Beach Street and ISB that isn't used very often, I will say, but it has kind of the pavered decor, and I think people are just a little afraid to cross there because it's so high speed.
It's not a little afraid. I mean, and I'm not complaining or anything, but it can be a challenge getting across there.
Right.
And the way that the Esplanade dumps people out onto ISB from the south side is kind of scary even. But I don't think you're ever going to be able to get a north-south flow that is
That'd be a
easy.
great spot though, right there. World's most famous beach, Daytona, right at Beach Street. And
Or who knows where it be? It could even be from the parking lots behind Beach. I mean, who knows where it could go? Or maybe along Palmetto. I don't know, but I'm just thinking.
Okay.
To me,
It's the
that
planning
is
instead
a
of-
bifurcation in a neighborhood. And it's never going to naturally flow north and south until we address it somehow or other. Can't do a tunnel or it floods. So.
I say I wouldn't suggest that here in downtown, yeah. But I do think we've seen great success with pedestrian bridges across the city, so great idea.
All right. No further comments, no feedback, we good?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're looking at making a motion to rezone.
You have to have public comment, all those
Any other,
little
do
things.
we have any other? public-
It's on the, here we go, that's right. Oh, yeah, you got public comments there.
We heard from,
So there.
You hear from
when the time comes.
John Nicholson?
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview. Those of you that have been around for a while know that we've been wanting people downtown for 40 years, all right? The only one up here that will remember is Cheryl, that we were planning on building right behind McKay's. There was a huge apartment building going in there until it was insisted that we put HUD housing in it. I think they wanted 10 to 20% for HUD housing. Well, the problem with HUD housing is they don't have the funds to go to your restaurants, to buy your jewelry, etc. So that kind of fell apart. Then we had the opportunity in the same location for apartments and a parking garage. And at the very last minute, the mayor came forward and said, oh, I want HUD housing. All right? He uses the word affordable housing, but he also requires Section 8 to be included in affordable housing. And he wants our HUD housing to administer it. So it's very difficult when you're trying to redevelop to put in people without funding. There will be a 7th senior housing unit on Beach Street, right in downtown. Most seniors that are in senior housing are not wealthy. Those with money have houses. To put on Beach Street and Ridgewood Avenue all of our poor seniors does not do well for our redevelopment. You have to be very careful on this one. I mistakenly thought this was the one on Beach Street. When it went up there, I'm like, doesn't look like the one I saw. It is definitely not high end, all right? But it is acceptable in most large cities, the decor. I'm a little bit upset at the amount of open parking. It's a waste of land in your downtown to have open parking. If you look at your blocks, starting at Orange Avenue, ending at what I call Main Street, every single core block is empty, just like this is going to be. So is that your pattern going to be? You're going to put buildings on Beach Street, buildings on Palmetto, buildings on Ridgewood, and the middle of all of your downtown is going to be empty? Because you're setting a precedent here by having all that empty space, all your other properties, because you've got what, 7 of them? If you look right behind McKay's, that's a big empty parking lot. If you go next to it, there's another big empty parking lot. And then if you get down to where Hyatt Brown is, there's a huge empty parking lot behind his building. So I'm asking you to do whatever you can to get it, because we absolutely need apartments downtown. You can't survive without it. But be careful that you don't bother in empty spaces. You don't put in the tail end of a building facing the street. You don't do that on Palmetto, but the tail end of this building is facing Ridgewood. When they built buildings on A1A on the beach side, their ugliest parts of the building face public property, A1A. The new Marriott Renaissance, a 4-star hotel, knock on wood, all their garbage and all their trash, all their infrastructure faces A1A. All their AC units, all their restaurant outside stuff, all face A1A. The Daytona Grand, all their garbage faces A1A. So be careful and look carefully at your buildings that you don't do the same on downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, John. It was the only public one we had. Okay. Board, we like to go ahead and...
I'm ready for a motion, if you're ready.
Yeah.
I move that we forward the rezoning of the, looks like a 6.86 acre of commercial and residential to Planned Development General, PDG, and we forward that to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval.
All in favor?
Oh, we need a second.
I second it.
All right. Oh,
Okay, the existing zoning is PDRD to PDRD. I know that the staff report has a commercial call out. The G would just be if we're outside of the redevelopment board.
So it's from what to what?
From
PDRD.
PDRD to PDRD.
yes.
To PDRD.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
To
My motion is amended to reflect it's going to PDRD.
What was the motion?
Well, I was following the staff recommendation, so
For the
is
rezoning
that-
of 6.86 acres from a PDRD to PDRD.
Correct. So there are some changes that were on there, so my apologies for that.
Right. To support the mixed-use development, including residential, retail, workforce housing. That's the motion.
okay.
Well, the motion is
So moved.
to the commission, right?
Yes.
For a recommendation of approval.
Sorry,
Correct.
I've got my light flashing.
Forward to City Commission for recommendation of approval.
I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it to go to the planning board? Okay, to go to the planning board and then to the commission. Just reading it as it appears. I'm joining them.
All right, so let's rephrase that so that we get it. I'd like to make a motion for rezoning of the 6.86 acres from a PDRD to a PDRD to forward it to the planning board to have it sent over to the city commission.
I amend my motion to
With a
reflect
recommendation
what
of
the chairman said.
That is with recommendation? That is with recommendation for approval, right? Recommendation of approval?
Yes.
Yes, yes. We just made the motion.
So are you seconding it again?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Amendment.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Opposed,
opposed?
like sign. Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Good job.
Whew. All right, next item on the agenda is staff reports.
So does that conclude the public hearing portion of the agenda?
Yes. That's it. Process to
So now we're to item 7, staff reports.
Great. Okay. So the staff report, you have before you the Public Works report for your review. It outlines various projects that our Public Works Department is handling. Do you have any questions for the Public Works report? You had a moment to review some of the items that you requested over the last few months. They are in there as far as updates. This is, just to keep in mind, this is a portion of what the Public Works has. They handle a lot of projects. So if there is something that you would like to have special attention on, please let me know ahead of time so they can prepare the report in detail. And if there is a matter where they need to be present or provide a more detailed report, they can do so. This is just a general report based off of the discussion that we had for the last few meetings, but also more of their highlighted projects that they're doing currently.
Board has any comments on the Public Works info?
The bridge over to the library, it's almost done. And they're getting close. Any insight into when they're expecting to be done on that one?
I don't have the details on when they will be expected to be done, but I can have them provide a more detailed report, but it's just in the works.
No, I don't need a detail. I was just curious. Yeah, I know it's in the world. Is it going to be October, December, that type of thing? But we'll know when we know. It'll be
We'll definitely find out for you.
And by the way, the electric vehicle charger I noticed it on over there. Has anyone? Do you know if anyone uses it? Is it?
Oh, yeah.
I saw a car plugged in yesterday,
Yes, it's called Blink.
Oh, that's good.
surrounded by water.
They use it, yes, it's on Magnolia.
It's good to see it. My only concern on that does any special events prevent folks from getting access to it? Seems like an event.
Don't you have to pay to use it? You put a card in, it's not free.
You do have to pay. The only special events that I would say is the road Magnolia is closed every first Friday.
That's it. Yeah.
So that would be the only, but that doesn't take away. So they have that Blink app. We have the same charging station here at the City Hall. So if you have an EV car, you're fully aware of the surrounding charging stations. So they'll be notified that there's another one just a couple blocks over at City Hall. Yes.
Do you have any update on the Jackie Robinson when it's going to even be going? I mean, since it was approved and everything, or when the construction might begin, more on that, or?
Yeah, so they technically broke ground. I believe it was last week. They did a big announcement and had the shovels, and their official breaking ground started 2 weeks ago.
Framework job, 400?
For Jackie Robinson Stadium.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes. So that is in the works. The Tortugas are going to the playoffs, so that probably postponed a little bit of their development. But other than that, they have officially broke ground as of 2 weeks ago. And as more
there for a long time.
I'm sorry?
They had a front-end loader parked out back, just to...
Yeah, they do. And so if you see it, there's a lot of their off-site parking and development. So they have some of their materials in the parking lot of the City Island parking lot. You'll see development as it comes. Once I get additional reports, because it's just shy of 2 weeks, I'll continue to provide updates for everyone because it's going to be a beautiful stadium.
Okay. But no time frame, like on a lot of the other projects, how long it's going to take?
No, I don't have that exact.
TBD.
To be determined.
It's right there in the report. How about the Coast Guard Auxiliary Building? I see that there's been an award to Paul Culver. What are they going to do? Is it still going to remain Coast Guard Auxiliary?
Yes.
Okay. Never mind, Dan, answer my question.
Building on it at all? Or?
Not that I'm aware of, aside from what you have here. And I'll make a note to add more details. Is that what you want, more details on that as well?
It looks good. The Coast Guard station, it looks good.
Yes.
They've done a good job over there. Yeah.
You can be our eyes on the
Yeah,
ground.
I walk over there too.
He does walk a lot. I see you walk a lot.
With the Delta project, if you were in downtown yesterday and you saw the massive waves coming down Magnolia and Palmetto and Beach Street and the alleyway, I mean, something's got to be done. I mean, the cars were going under, they, you know, just people were going in and out the wrong way to get out of downtown. So if something doesn't happen, we're all in deep trouble with the hurricanes if something happens again.
And
So I
global
know
warming.
it came down so quickly, but with all these other people and all these other buildings,
Maybe up to your door.
will they have to be having their property up higher?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Every year we have a FEMA report as far as where your BFE, which is your base flood elevation, of how high your building has to be for any type of new development. So that is a standard requirement. Prior to any developer coming to start any work, they have to go before a TRT, which is a technical review committee. That they have an opportunity to go before all of our departments. Any questions, stormwater preventions, or any mediation that has to go into place, they're able to address that then. And that's why staff takes a step-by-step process on the due diligence side to make sure that they're in compliance for any future, according to our land development code and also FEMA, as far as the base flood elevation. We're there to make sure every step of the way that those buildings, as far as new construction or any type of renovations are completed, the buildings are meeting those guidelines. We were aware of what happened. That was a couple of our business owners used our app, see it, fix it, see it, click it, fix it. So I received several notifications and phone calls about what happened yesterday with the rain. It came down very hard and fast. In a long time it was raining. So with that, our staff went out and did the best they can to make sure that we addressed with signage, making sure that there are detours necessary, and also keeping track of how fast it was coming down, the height of the flooding levels. So we were aware of that. So on our end, we'll know how to address it moving forward. But also keep in mind, we're in a bowl. There's certain parts of the city, so we're technically in the bottom of the bowl. And if you ever look at it, and I can just describe it like this, downtown is right in the bottom of this bowl. Yes, we are very aware of it, and we are doing our best to make sure that we can be proactive, but in situations where unseen rain that came down like yesterday, we're just doing the best we can to make sure that it doesn't last for a long period of time. So to address your question, Mrs. Cook, we are fully aware of when it comes to new development and also our existing business owners, to make sure that either one, we're rerouting the roads, and then also making sure that individuals who don't realize that their wheels are underwater, that we are addressing as quickly as possible. And one thing we can't control is how fast people drive. Some people are inconsiderate when they're driving very fast. The water does splash into buildings. So we are making sure that we are providing signage. So you should see that very soon. As soon as the signs come back, making sure that there are some signs that says that this particular area floods or whatever. We're in the works of making sure the verbiage is right with our legal and as well as our staff to ensure that we are proactive so individuals can at least see the signage there to be aware when it floods, this area, it floods more so than other areas throughout our downtown CRA.
Okay, and I have one more. I don't know who had the smarts to close down North Beach Street, the east side heading north on Beach Street, cleaning the palm trees. Great idea. They needed it. At the same time, you could not go north, this is last week, on Palmetto, because the city had that closed down doing work. So all these people were going for a detour, and then they couldn't turn up. They were coming down Magnolia because they couldn't go north and to have 2 northbound streets.
Yeah.
And everybody the bus drivers were sitting there going, what are we going to do? Well, they had to then get up on Ridgewood, and everybody else are turning. People were trying to go around the barricades. It was a cluster. But I don't know how 2 northbound streets at the same time on one morning get closed. Is that Public Works, or are they 2 different? I mean,
It is Public Works.
well, that was a cluster. I'm just saying that
Okay.
there were so many cars trying to turn, to back up, and then there were workers, and you can't go this way. I mean, so.
Okay.
All right. Code enforcement report.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mark Jones, Supervisor with Code Enforcement. I do not have a formal report to present. We are working diligently on the Ridgewood corridor with the businesses, trying to bring up what we're looking at is what they look like, what you see when you're going up and down the street, making sure the buildings are painted, the signage is maintained, the landscaping and so forth. We've had we have a group of inspectors who do just the commercial work, who have been working on both ends of Ridgewood. You've seen some of the improvements, like the Dollar General there, just north of Speedway. They've really done a nice job addressing their building, getting it looking well. As the captain stated, we also worked down south with some of their issues when they've had some police issues where we've gone in and code enforcement, code compliance has gone in and worked with them. But beyond that, I mean, if you have any questions or any concerns or any specific areas that you'd like us to look at, we'll gladly help you out there and look into it.
Okay, so code enforcement put this little sign on, I'm 150, so like 160, on May 14th, on the front of the old Ritzy building for issues. It was still up when I had the realtor contact the owner of it, because I said, well, we're 4 months later, so why is code enforcement sign still up for doing it? And nothing had been done in the front.
Well, what our procedure there is, when we have a code violation, we then send certified mail to the property owner. If that is not accepted, per our statute 162, we have to then go post the building. In theory, that's to get the property owner, who hopefully is visiting his property, to see that and see what the violations are, so that they would then start correcting them and also contact the code inspector. If it remains up, typically that's because it was never taken down by the property owner. After a period of time, then it would go to a hearing. I would have to check into that and see.
Because I'm in the window displays, I just got rid of all of the pictures that I had on it, because I sent it to the realtor of the person that owns the building and got a response back. But I mean, they're doing all the work coming in from the backside. The windows have stuff falling down in them and everything else. So that's right on Beach Street. So that's kind of nasty when people are walking by and everybody else has got to keep our properties nice. And then we get to that. So how does that get to be addressed?
Well, I will look into it. I've got to see where they were. I know they had some issues with permitting that they were dealing with, but I don't have that information at my fingertips, but I will look into it and can get back to you.
Thank you.
Other comments?
I'm
Okay.
familiar with the process.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up while you're here, the last meeting, a few of the board members were asking questions about some of the signage and flags that are being waved on or put in, I guess, the median on Beach Street in various places. If you can talk about that as far as what you do in the event that staff reaches out and lets you know that this is out of compliance as far as the LDC. Some of the restaurants are putting banners and signage on the median, which is not a part of the LDC. Some of the board members were asking about what is your process to ensure that
Our
this doesn't
typical
happen.
process is to remove them. We will we'll talk to the owner first if they're not removed, because anything on the median, we are always trying to pick up. We have even someone who works on Saturday, and that inspector drives the whole city trying to pick up all the stick signs that are throughout the city that pop up. But no, if they're in the median, let us know. We will get somebody down there. The inspector in the area should see it. But if not, because a lot of this stuff they'll put out in the morning and pull back up in the evening, and if we don't happen to be driving Beach Street exactly at that moment, we may not see it. Again, the inspectors are their areas are quite large, so they're not just concentrating on one area. But if ever that comes up, you can contact me. You can put in a complaint through See-Click-Fix. You can put a complaint in through IMS. But the easiest thing is just call the code compliance number, and we'll get it rectified. That type of stuff we usually handle fairly quickly once we're notified of it.
But the flags aren't necessarily in the median. The flags are on the street. Those big floppy flags and the sandwich boards that are getting out again into the sidewalks, and the extra clothing racks that, it's just stuff that's just being out there that I don't think is.
Well, the sandwich signs are not supposed to be out in the walkway. It's a little tough on the clothing racks. We see that not only on Beach Street, but you see it when you get close to Beachside on Main Street. We talk to the property owners to let them know that that's not allowed. They're not supposed to, but it's an ongoing battle with them. It isn't allowed, but some of these people, when they roll it out on their rack in the morning, and then they'll bring it back in the afternoon, or if it looks like it's going to rain, it's just hard to manage, quite frankly. But we can spend a little bit more time there on Beach Street to take a look at any of those issues. I mean, there are certain rules and regulations on those feather flags that people put out that is in the LDC as to what they can do and can't do that we can enforce.
If you could have someone spend a little time, just even a day, looking or driving or doing something on Beach Street, that would certainly be helpful to those of us who do follow the rules.
Yes, understand.
Yes, and they have gone out, and I just wanted to reiterate, and I appreciate you elaborating on the process. We, a lot of times when they go out, like he said, the owners come right back and put it out there. So we are working to make sure that we have some type of due diligence process to ensure that they have a bit of, I don't want to say, I'm trying to see how I can word this, respect for the LDC. But they do. Anytime I call and let them know, they're usually pretty quickly going out there to make sure that it's handled. But also, I just want to keep in mind that we can't control necessarily how quickly, as soon as they say take it down, they take it down, and then they're right back out. So that's something that does happen. So thank you.
And that's a lot of our challenges.
Right.
We'll go in and talk to the owner. He'll go out, remove the sandwich sign. We don't take it, but he brings it back in. Mm-hmm. And if we're not back there the next day, or it may be 3 or 4 days, or it may be the next weekend, that they come out, and it is a real challenge on Beach Street and also on Main Street on the beach side.
Are they fined?
No, typically they're not, because what we would have to do is give them a notice of violation, and we would give them a reasonable time to correct, which would be just even a day. Mm-hmm. Then they come back into compliance, and if they go back again, then unfortunately it's our statute. The Florida statute that we follow, we have to send them a notice. We can hand deliver it. We can send it certified mail. We have to give them reasonable time to come into compliance. But once they come into compliance, we have to recite them again. I mean, if we have a real serious issue that We can, again, try to get them into court because of continual violations, but that's very difficult for us to do.
We deal with it at the county. I've been on the county board for about 30 years. And let's say it's somebody parked in the front yard. They get a violation, they get a notice. It comes to the code board. Staff says they're in compliance. We find them in violation and dismiss because they were in violation at the time, and then it's dismissed because it's now in compliance. If it happens again, it's a repeat violation. When it's a repeat violation, it can be on an item by item by item basis on the inspector when they see that, and each of those days is subject to a fine, and the fine goes up to like $5,000 per occurrence for somebody that is in repeat violation position. I don't know.
Yeah, we follow that. No, we follow the same procedure here where we can go ahead, we find them in non-compliance, compliance, and if they repeat it, it would be a repeat violation. And again, as each occurrence. And we do have properties that we've done, that we have had to do that with. I mean, we typically try not to get that aggressive on our owners or businesses, especially like on Beach Street. But it's
like Cheryl said, if they're just going to keep doing it, you have to put your foot down.
But the old Woolworths building, how many code violations is that? The old Woolworths building on the corner.
Yeah, well, and that's, again, the challenge. You can go ahead, we get violations, we go ahead and get it, take it to a hearing, a fine is levied, it maxes out at a percentage of the value, could be up to $20,000 or even beyond, depending on the appraised value of the property. And then it just sits on the property. I mean, unless we foreclose on the property, which typically is very hard because there's mortgages and things like that, so it's not something the city wants to foreclose on. So that lien sits there on the property until the property is sold. And then, in theory, they would then correct it. You know, that would then be paid to the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Downtown security report.
Thank you. So before you have the updated security report. It outlines the daily activities. So this is what the security report looks like. Again, if you look at your report, you will see the scans. It has a daily report, and so they report it, and the date of the reporting period is there. We have 2 officers that are downtown. You have the first shift and then the second shift. The scans, the number of scans are the first box. Any type of issues that were provided to the individuals are there. Tasks, the number of tasks are there, and then as well as audits. We always have very detailed reports. Our officers have done a great job outlining what activities they see, making sure that they're keeping us informed on any individuals that may have done any type of violations, or if we just need to be aware that a light bulb is missing or a light bulb is out. Maybe some graffiti is out there. They'll take a picture of that. Anything, they're working as our ambassadors to ensure that we have an extra eye, an extra ear, and also a mouthpiece for as far as resources. So if they see any individuals out there, they're taking notes and providing it to us in their daily reports. Also, you have before you a document that is the Downtown CRA Daytona Beach duty cell phone number. So that is there as well for you. That is on the screen if you want to put that up, please. The slide after this. Thank you. So that is the security number there. It's 904-889-0883 for any individuals that are listening in our listening audience, as well as here present if you want to jot that number down. This number is for emergency uses only. So I would encourage, if you have any concerns, please reach out to them. Of course, if there is anything that the security officers cannot do, like arrest, or if you see any type of major crime, call 911. because they cannot arrest or move any individuals that you don't want in your stores or that are maybe in front of your stores or anything like that. That's when you call our police department and then calling the 911 dispatcher number. But if there is something that you notice that there's graffiti or maybe there's light bulbs that are missing or something like that, that's something that you can address to them or any other minor concerns. Okay, so the number is there. We are very satisfied with our current security, First Coast security officers. So that is the report that you have before you, and I'll continue to update you. The next item that I want to highlight is a couple things as far as with our updates. And let me get myself together. We have the triage program that is going on. Our triage program has been a very good success. We started this in the beginning of the summer in June, which is an assessment of all of the businesses. To date, we have a little over 50 applicants. So they went to our city website. It's a business development program. They are assessing the businesses to see what's going on. Do you need help with finances? Do you need help with marketing and networking? Do you want to, if you're a veteran and you want to register as a registered veteran and have those type of credentials as far as a business owner, or if you're a minority business owner, you need those additional credentials. This is what this program is to help you, be able to sustain and thrive in the CRA. But not only for the individuals in the CRA, but for individuals to make it very attractive for them to move their business to the CRAs. We have 5 CRAs, and that's our target to enhance our CRAs with more commerce. This particular flyer that you have in your packet, this is a meet and greet. So what's going to happen is you'll see highlights for individuals who are currently a part of the program. So they'll be there meeting the other business owners who are part of this program and also attracting other individuals to come and be a part of the business triage program. We encourage existing business owners throughout all of our CRAs, especially in our downtown or just any of our CRAs, to come to this meet and greet and share why did you come to the downtown area? Why did you come to any of our CRA areas to have a business? Because that resonates well. That's what's been going on with our current applicants. They were asking other business owners. We have one business owner in our downtown areas said the reason why I came to downtown because they wanted to make change. They wanted to be a part of change and having the first of this particular restaurant, or they wanted to just be in downtown. That was their dream as a young child. So telling your story also encourages other business owners to keep pushing, because as a business owner, you have highs and lows. And this program is making sure that they are igniting that drive to keep it going. And we also want to increase the revenue in our area, in our downtown area. I also want to go to another item, which is our outdoor seating. We're taking applications for our outdoor seating. We have 2 restaurants currently in the application process. I wanted to encourage those who want to have the outdoor seating, which is the updated land development code that we did for an ordinance, to encourage the outdoor seating, having the barricades or the planters. So we have that in place. We have 2 applications pending. And so we hope to have that to come to fruition very soon within our next fiscal year 25. Yes.
So if I count, there's a lot more than that along Beach Street that have outdoor seating currently. There's at least 6 that I can think of this offhand. And you have 2 applicants for outdoor seating. Do those folks have to apply to come into compliance? Yeah, I'm on.
Yes. Everyone has to do an application to make sure that they're in compliance. What I'm referring to as far as the application, and my apologies for not being clear, for our grant. So we have a grant program that allows us to help with some of the cost to provide barricades or planters to ensure that is more attractive. Now, these applicants are intruding on our property, which is ours and the city's property. The city's property, so based off of what they desire and what they propose for their outdoor seating, we have to do what's called a license agreement so they can be able to have their outdoor seating on the city's property. That's something as well I'm going throughout various restaurants to let them know, I see that you have outdoor seating. Do you understand what the updated requirement is, and making sure that everybody's in compliance before we contact code enforcement and say, hey, they're in violation. Technically, I'm supposed to have code enforcement come in, but I'm just, for the record, saying we are really working with our businesses to hold their hand through the process. Some of them haven't responded, so there is a grace period, and we are coming close to the sunset of that grace period. So that's why I want to encourage everyone who has the outdoor seating to really get into compliance and contact me. Contact our office. Permits and licensing are able to help as well, making sure that they have the proper application in place. And if they are intruding on our public space, they need to have a license agreement. And that does take some time to work with legal to make sure all the verbiage is together. And then we have to go before our CRA board for approval. Okay. Any other questions about that item? I have one more. Okay, a couple more. We have upcoming events. I do want to encourage you all to participate. And if you need to find out where those events are, they're on our website. And also the DDA has a website that has all of our upcoming events. Last but not least, I want to encourage everyone to read the strategic plan for downtown Embaloo. We have a strategic plan in place. We have a lot of items that we are addressing that goes with our strategic plan. So if you see anything in the strategic plan that you want to highlight and you want to ask questions about, we're pretty much on track with our strategic plan for the downtown CRA. Baloo CRA is also a part of that plan. We are a little behind because, like we talked about earlier, enticing developers to come with some form of incentive package. That's what we're in the process of doing. I want to encourage you all within the next few weeks to look at the strategic plan. Email me any questions that you have so you can have a better understanding of where we're going with the downtown CRA as well as the Baloo CRA to make sure that you understand. So whenever someone comes up to you all, being that you're on the advisory board, you'll be able to effectively articulate what that plan is and where our end goal is, okay? Any questions? You have homework, yes. Good homework.
Is that part of your redevelopment project manager's report, or?
That is, so that's everything that I have to say.
Okay.
Unless you want me to throw in some future stuff that we're working on.
Can I go back on the security report? Appreciate the information. I'm just wondering if, is it allowed to distribute electronically rather than a paper? Is it?
You have that electronically emailed to you.
I'm just in lieu of. I'm just wondering if the paper.
Oh, instead of printing it out?
I don't know. I don't know how the other board members feel about receiving the paper.
Fine with it.
Yeah.
We got
This
one
time
once.
we got it all.
Yeah.
And it was huge. It was
Okay. So we don't have to print it for you anymore?
That's what I'm asking. To me, I see a lot of trees.
Me too.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, what other reports on the security? I mean, does this include the Esplanade? Does this include Halifax Marine? I don't think so, but I know that we have security available there. Are we privy to those reports as well? Those are in the CRA, but they're handled differently. How is it?
Thank you for that question. So to reiterate, this particular security company that's hired by the city of Daytona Beach only goes from Orange Avenue let me back up, Beach Street, Orange Avenue to Bay Street. That's it. So anything that is facing Beach Street on the west side of the street, not on the Esplanade, that's a different contract that the Esplanade has, and then also Halifax and the other areas that you were expressing. The city of Daytona Beach the downtown CRA only has a contract from that particular area, which is on Beach Street, Orange Avenue to Bay, and then also behind the buildings in the parking lot area. So as far as getting information for those reports, you have to speak directly with those entities, which...
The marina, though, is a city.
Yes.
The Esplanad's a little bit different governance, right? Yeah.
It's a private foundation.
It's a trust.
Yeah, okay. A shout out to the marina, by the way. You know, over the last few weeks, there was an uptick in some of the overnight campers on South Beach, you know, along the stretch right along there. And they've been very responsive in going over there and trying to help that situation. So shout out to them.
Yes.
Anything else? Further comments? All right. Meeting adjourned.
There's a
We-
comment.
All right.
Oops.
Let's go back. We'll
Public
send that.
comments.
Public comments. I thought John was done with public
And then
comments.
board comments. So we're re-adjourned.
John
Re-adjourned.
Nicholson, 413 North Granview Avenue. I'm going to start calling you Edith Shelley. She always did that. Couple of things. One, you're aware that the city is putting $30 million into City Island. You're aware that the Hyatt Brown put $37 million into Beach Street. The city's going to finish, hopefully, knock on wood, Beach Street all the way to Main Street. That leaves a hole right in the middle of your downtown, City Island, all right? The Hyatt Brown did one corner of it. They'll do another quarter for the Tortugas. Very center of the island, looks terrible. You go over Magnolia, what do you see is a parking lot. Half of the islands there have lost their trees. Other trees are stunted. It looks terrible. So I'm asking you to ask the city, and I've spoken with Derek Fietcher on this, to upgrade City Island, because what you want is an attractive downtown, and you don't want a hole in the donut that looks terrible, all right? I'm also pushing for large trees, instead of putting those little dinky trees that are like 4 caliber, the size that Hyatt built, not exactly $17,000 trees, but a $10,000 tree to make it an established park, so it looks good. Secondly, I think it's time to start planning all of the streetscapes from Mason Avenue to the marina. If you look at it, if you look down Magnolia from Beach Street, it looks fantastic. No overhead wires, nothing. Go to Bay Street, where everything is now functioning. You look west, and all you see is overhead wires. It looks terrible. No landscaping, nothing. So I'm asking you to look at that as a alternative, because MMB is going to be redone when they do Beach Street. So that will be your hole in the donut. That will be your ugly street. And that's where you have plenty of room. Do you realize you've got 10 restaurants on that street between Beach Street and Bay Street? It's going to be a fantastic location. The marina, it used to be, 102 on the East Coast, highest and best looking marina on the East Coast. And it's now, people say, oh my God, that's terrible. They never realized that at one time it was a beautiful marina. I go through it every Sunday morning. A lot of things. The building that we now have there that used to be restaurants, there's like 1 or 2 restaurants left in it. All their garbage is parked out back. They leave it all outside. It looks terrible. Some of the signs are down and whatnot. Hopefully, Jim Chisholm wanted a convention center on our property. The city owns 2 acres on that, but the rest of it is state land. We were in the process of acquiring that state land. I would ask you guys to encourage the city to acquire all the beachfront, all the riverfront properties so that we can develop it, because it would help you greatly if there are hotels and things for people to do throughout the downtown. And that is, again, another hole in the donut. Hopefully you could put a tennis center they're taking away the tennis center, and there's a gentleman coming to every city commission meeting asking for a tennis center. Where the old Armory site is, there's room there not only for the convention center, but for 8 tennis courts. Bethune-Cookman College needs those tennis courts. The citizens needs those tennis courts. So if you could think about that, those are things that would enhance your downtown and would help the City Island and your businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Any board comments?
Well, I have one. It would be helpful when we have a suggested recommendation that we have the correct language. I really didn't like fumbling around with that, and the fact that it was also moved to a public hearing. I've done plenty of them, and there's a lot of notice related to public hearings. Hopefully we met that today. I mean, that was a big project going on over here, real big, and I'm extremely pleased to see it. I'd hate to see it goofed up because we had a tactical error. That's my comment.
We'll say our legal review says that there was no public notice requirement for the redevelopment board to have to consider in this situation. So there's not one in our land development
It's a
code.
public hearing, but it's not necessarily public notice for that site, for that project.
That's correct. So
Good to hear.
yeah, you were covered there, at least from our legal review.
Good deal.
All right. Any further comments? Good comment, though. Appreciate it. All right, meeting adjourned.